I had a kid who was sick. He was supposed to go for operation.
Yeah.
Ku GP.
Yeah.
Scheduled operation. Ha tshwantse re a tsene go duelwe. Ebe go te karata ya medical ibomedi.
E
Expirile. So ke a botsa gore how expire ya. Medical ibomedi in Spencer file gore no, you've got about a year o sa duele subscription. Yet mo my payslip is super every month ke a bua. So go tro mare no ne re lebetse. But you tell me gore ba lebetse. I have a case of another guy gore he lost una ke la thala ke mmagwe. Ha tshwantse re a re wa go tsaya madi gore a duele a thuse go lapeng for go reka go thusa ka rena cover le mmagwe. A gona insurance mare policy ya go sa re collapse. But last month tela wa go supala gore every month go tswa madi mo go ene ke mohiri. So you see
Welcome to Moving Humanity Forward. My name is Kathy Malajani. You can call me the village chick with plenty chic, or the moniker that's so much in fashion these days with me is the hashtag Curious Kath, because I have so many questions. Now, our guest today is somebody who operates in a space that I have been operating in for quite a while. So I'm very excited to have him here, and I'm so looking forward to picking his brain and asking my many questions, given that he's got over 2 decades of experience within the media industry. I'm talking about somebody who is a former senior reporter at The Patriot on Sunday. He's also served previously as the president of Botswana Media Workers Union. I think at this point you might have a clue that I'm speaking about a seasoned reporter with vast experience. And I think one of the things that I like also is just the fact that his background is not necessarily in communication or journalism, but actually he comes with a degree in philosophy. I'm talking about Philemon Meso. A very good afternoon to you and a super warm welcome to Moving Humanity Forward.
Thank you, Dumerama.
I'm happy to have you here, Philemon. I think the first thing I want to just find out is, let's talk media in Botswana. What is the state of the industry in your point of view?
Yeah, that's a very tricky question. I think the state of our media, it has evolved, it has changed. To some degree, it has developed. Like we see, we have podcasts. We have a lot of guys going out doing podcasts. We've got a lot of social media pages, some credible, some not credible. But when you look at the mainstream media, it seems it's going down. A lot of retrenchments in the industry. We have seen a lot of experienced journalists being retrenched, some losing their jobs. And then we also have the serious problem of fake news. And then we are seeing also the quality of our reporting sometimes is super good. There's that it can be so good and then can be very below par. So I think that's where we find ourselves in. I think the media, our media landscape is at a stage whereby they need to introspect. They need to look at the quality of news that they're bringing to the public.
I like how you're saying they. You were just explaining to me before we started this conversation that when I thought that you're a farmer nowadays, you're not into journalism. But we'll talk about that a little later on. But for now, I want to look at why. You're saying, we need to introspect. Rona ba re santsana really in the industry, we need to introspect. You're talking about, sort of a pendulum. 1 minute it's amazing, the next minute is terrible quality of reporting and all the other different issues. Why is that the case? And then I want to talk solutions.
There's this saying that when you look at the welfare, because that is my stronghold, the welfare of the media workers, not only journalists, but all the media workers, it has been neglected for far too long. We are pushing for quantity, not quality. That is why we are losing a lot of experienced journalists. Some of them are frustrated. Some of them, when they question on they're looking for raise, they are fired. And then now we go for quantity. We take these young reporters who are not experienced, and then when they join the newsroom, you find that we don't have mentors, and then they are just thrown into the industry. And most of them, because nowadays they've trained as journalists from the two institutions, University of Botswana and UB.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, when you take a kid to go and cover the courts, he's inexperienced in court reporting. He has never been a rutu a sepeka court reporting and had to cover a court. And then that's when there's a lot of mistakes in the reporting.
Yeah.
Or even the budget speech. I've not done finance, but I've done media studies.
Yeah.
And I go and cover the budget speech. I don't know what is going on. I just hear numbers, big numbers, And then that is the problem that we have now. The paying the industrial media, they are paid peanuts. You will find when you started the union, Botswana Media and Allied Workers Union, we try to find out how much do we earn, the maximum or minimum wage within our industry.
Yeah.
Personally, I was shocked to hear that in one of the radio stations, a producer by then was paid 2.5
Yeah.
of a prime show. I mean, 2.5,
Yeah. Who can survive
2,500
on that
pula,
much?
a graduate.
Yeah.
And you go to the print, you get someone getting around 4,000 pula, 3,000, a graduate. Someone has spent 4 to 5 years at university.
Yeah.
Whereas look in the another industry, his colleague is in around about 10 or 20K. So, and that thing compromised the quality of news. And then we have seen now, because now journalists, if I earn 2.5, I need to find ways in
Yeah, I can subsidize my living.
And then that is when the issue of the brown envelopes crops in. That is when now most of the guys, they use information to blackmail people. If I've got information about a certain CEO, I'll go to him, send him questionnaire, because Lenny doesn't want to lose his job. He doesn't want his credibility to go down. He will come to me and say, no, let's negotiate. And we negotiate. He gives me 10, he gives me 20. He's done with the story. But it doesn't end there. Initially, journalists, ordinary reporters, used to get these stories and do them. Then they realized that their bosses, now they are using those stories to bargain, either to get ditiro mo governments, private secretary or whatever, in the companies, or even to get money, even for adverts. And then le bone bo ba simolola ba joina the bandwagon. And then that is where we are in now. I'm actually doing some PR for some companies, consultants. And what we got is shocking. In one of my clients, one guy had some story about the company which was not true, and he demanded, I think, around, initially he wanted 20, and then I approached him. He said, no, so I like about the 50, so that I would do. Then I said, you go ahead and write the story. And then you can imagine how many others are facing the same situation.
Now, are you able to maybe just put us in the minds of the decision makers? Because I need to confess my bias. I'm in this industry, and what you're saying is very true. It's very heartbreaking. And as one of the older, can I say, veterans in the industry, it's painful. It's very painful, because can you imagine the more experience you get and then you're offered less money? I mean, how does this work? You've been doing this for 10, 15, 20 years, and yet the offer you're getting is a quarter of what you got 15 years ago with no experience. Like, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't compute. And so, yes, that's why you've got a lot of journalists, especially the more experienced ones, leaving, because especially when you get to that age, have bills, have children, have responsibilities. It just, for a younger person living at home, it's okay. You can earn in a 1,000. It doesn't hurt you. But as far as you as a person, it doesn't make sense. But let's come now to the owners of the media, because I want to believe they are the decision makers, or should I say management. I'm not sure between the owners and the management who is making these decisions. And just wondering, more so, you are into philosophy, what's the thinking behind this? Because as a business reporter and somebody who's studied information systems, that background, and just done a lot in the area of good business, can I call it that? That doesn't make sense to me. If I have a product and I know that obviously the best quality is going to get you the best mileage, the best everything, I want to believe that's just a general business case. Good business, put out a good product, you're going to make good money. But now if you're prepared to lower your standards and serve something that is substandard, because that's basically what's happening, right? What's the thinking behind now? Are you not saying, let me get substandard money? Isn't that maybe part of why the industry is going down? Have you ever had an opportunity to interact with a decision maker and understand why that is the case? Because,
Okay.
yeah,
What this thing is very media is very interesting, but I also seen it because I once worked as a temporary teacher.
yeah,
The human being is very interesting being. I started as a freelancer. I'm going to give you a background.
okay,
I smaller freelancing. I was doing Francistown. Started with Echo. Okay, they will pay on time. Then went to The Voice. Okay, they will pay on time sometimes. Then I went to Guardian. Then that's where then the problem started. That's when that seed, yeah, unionism started.
yeah, yeah,
A freelancer would do a story. Imagine I go Francistown. I'll write stories, the headline and all the lies, getting scoops. Then it comes time to pay. Submit the what you call, like, just say invoice. The guy who's always shouting at me to bring stories, which is the editor. Ke ena tshwanetse sign off invoice sign. Ha ke letsa gongwe ke botsa gore how far ka payment time. Imagine I go Francistown, I'm renting. I have bills to pay. And then I'll be told, no, your editor is not yet signed. I asked him, I'm busy, I'm doing other things. And he will sign it to my second week of the following month. That is the editor. That is not the owner of the publication. Ke gona tla ba signa, and then kana ra sign, it goes to ba finance le bone pele. It takes time. That is a guy who is an employer, but now he's the editor. He assumed the role of the owner. So the publishers now, they are enjoying themselves. What the editors now is their buffer. They do all these things that are happening to the journalist. Sometimes a journalist will go and negotiate. Kana in the media industry, we are like footballers. I can go and negotiate my salary better than my editor.
that's true.
Yes. Yeah, and how is going to sabotage you. So now these editors now, the funny part is that most of them, they realize now they've only been used. They have been fired from work.
Yeah.
Then you see someone, comrade, how far is the union? We need to comrade, you are there before, you've been here. You know what is happening. So
But wait, pause. You said they're being used. By who? Is it not the owner or somebody above
I don't know that they are
kinda...
used or they want to be used by the publishers. Sometimes you can be used, sometimes you can use yourself thinking that you want to impress your boss. That is the publisher. Or no, this guy is doing well. The company gonna retain a profit, a lot of profits. I think there was one guy in one of the radio stations. He used to be very powerful. That guy, I think I got some 3 billion, and he was fired. And I think after every 2 minutes, he would go live on Facebook insulting the publishers, his bosses. I laughed. This is the same guy who he saw himself. That's why I usually tell people that there used to be a king, Anale Monna. This guy always reminded him, Memento Mori. Know that you are a man and you are going to die. It doesn't mean physical death only. That remember that one day you'll not be in that seat. So he called Memento Mori. That's what we did in philosophy. It will always remind you that remember that whatever you are doing now, it will come back.
But I want to quiz you because much as you're saying, right, there are people who buff. The reason why I want to bring in the owners is because I want to believe ultimately, and by the way, we're speaking only purely to private media because I want to believe it's a different ball game for state media. So true. I always believe, as the owner, you have the ultimate responsibility of what is going on. And if you see, get out of some of these things, honestly, numbers don't lie. If you see, we're only submitting 15 stories, how come, or or we've submitted 15 stories, but we're only paying for 10. And as the owner, you need to ask yourself questions. But that said, I mean, I always tell people that I get paid getting 49, and
but also
this is
remember
part
that
of the issue.
The owner, the publisher, is a
Yeah.
business person.
Yeah.
He started this publication because he wants to make profit.
But then that's what I'm saying. Is that really good business? Much as we can understand, if you're getting people who are happy and they do a good job, you'll get more, right? By doing them well and paying them. So let me pause you there and let me let you know that it's called MHF Podcast on Facebook, otherwise on YouTube, LinkedIn, as well as TikTok. It is Moving Humanity Forward Podcast. My name is Kathy Malajani. Stay with us.
We live in an ever-changing world, a world where we have disruptions in technology, introductions of things such as artificial intelligence, and we can't help but ignore the need for all of us to level up. Leveling up for your own personal development, for you to thrive in your personal life, and also for organizations to continue growing and become the best versions of themselves. In the pursuit of leveling up, we often leave behind the soft skills and focus on the technical that allow us to do our daily duties. The soft skills help us connect with other individuals at a heightened level and also to be able to know how we relate with each other to produce optimum results. ProLearn comes in as a partner that centers around leadership development courses, technological courses, financial literacy courses, and also mental wellness and being.
Welcome back. This is Moving Humanity Forward, and I need to say this again. Probably I am going to be very biased because this is an industry that I too have been operating in since 2010. And so with 15 years of experience, I'm looking at it and I have so many questions about why I'm not rich, Philemon, and you have some ideas as to, look, if you're a business person, you are in it to make profit. Those were your exact words just now. And my whole thing is, if you're going to make profit, the best way to make profit is put the best product forward and charge the most money. Isn't that, in my mind, the best thing? But if you know, you're taking shortcuts, you're employing somebody that does not have the experience because you don't want to pay the one that does, you're putting together a substandard product, how do you expect to make the money that you want to make?
Yes, there is a saying, a universal saying.
Yeah.
If you want to die poor, retire or as a journalist.
Wow. You're hurting my feelings right now.
Yes, when now they want to be two, ba batla go itaya no go tshwana le teaching ba ra ba is a noble profession.
Yes.
But then nobility does not pay bills.
No.
You have guys ba is a noble profession. The guys ba share the profits, they're making money, their kids are going to school mahatsing, and they will not want their kids to be journalists, but they will rather go banne ela batla banne di boso mo teng. That is why when you look at our media industry mo gae bana ba di publisher but not as journalists but into management space. We get into the management. Yes, because that is where money is, so they have to manage the money. And then, like I said, they have ba lucky because banally these people the some of the editors, the managers, but they are protecting their own interest. The guy will simply say, no, how can I get it a kefi madi? Can this person is not performing, he is not performing. No, he will go to the bosses to justify not why you should have an increment, but why osonzore o kathelwe madi or why you should be removed. I think that is the sad reality alone within this industry. Like I said, I have the opportunity to be a temporary teacher.
Yeah.
So I've seen Lihuala teaching as well. Let's go into the media space. I don't know in other industry. I only know these two industries.
Yeah, and unionism a little bit.
Yes, in unionism you're whereby good teaching no kona go nna gore ha ngwe motho a sa go rate your boss or supervisor a kgona go ita scheme book sa gago a ba re ga wa submit scheme book. That's what happened. Now in industry journalism, that's what happened to me. Whereby I'll make a story, this guy wants to prove to the bosses what this guy is not doing work. I submit a story and this story will be shelved, or because how we submit the story so our papers was a weekend paper.
Yeah.
All of a sudden we get one more midweek paper. So I need to find a story. And then we simply say, Mora, na one of your article is here, more Guardian, more the voice of a publication. Then it means you need to go and look for another story. So now he's justifying now those things. So I've seen it all.
Wait, you are talking about what happens.
Yes.
We've agreed. And unfortunately, I have that experience as well, where people just, when, what, you know, like you, basically, right?
Yes.
But my question is, as the owner, as the person whose business this is your bottom line. Unless we're saying media in a lot of instances is just a scheme to write off
let me
taxes.
tell you about
How
the
does this
business
make
owner.
business sense? That's what I'm
Let me
saying.
tell you about the owners. I usually tell people that sometimes for you to be successful businessman, you should have an element of criminality and an element of evilness. So some of these guys, you'll go to them or Marana, listen, this is what happened. And you say, are you telling the truth? No. You know, and he will pretend as if so Sibua is the first time I sued.
Yeah.
Yet he also saying what he knows what is happening. You know, and then sometimes what I don't know, I'm not much into the operations. You will like your bosses or what should we do? So, but I'll look into it. I'll call them, and then we discuss this issue because I'm surprised. I didn't know this is what is happening. You know, they will simply say that. So there's an industry where being moody and it's from the owners, how they treat this young homo. Initially, no only this thing, you remember, because go tebe go tswa nna ke iswa tripi gongwe ko bokawa or gongwe go te Mercedes Benz e launcher a new car. No, I don't know his opinion now. The guys will go as far as Kubo Germany, one of the new Mercedes would. Everyone wants to go there.
Yeah.
Roto posted in Instagram and all the likes. And do you know how many young people are out there?
Yeah.
Babata, that's opportunity just to go and attend a Cape Town Jazz Festival or how show museum stage.
Yeah.
So you go to Cape Town Jazz Festival, wow, so busy. You come back to your one-bedroomed house, Kumopani. So you see, that is industry flashy freebies because you can be anywhere.
Yeah.
That's why I usually tell people that when they take you out to this excursions when we Cape Town Jazz Visa or whatever conferences
yeah,
don't just go there to take pictures with the guys from SABC, ENCA. Go and network and find opportunity because journalism exposes to a lot of opportunities. But most of us, we don't see those opportunities. There was a story that I usually give an example of. A guy wrote a story
yeah.
So a Chinese guy ababala stories online. He contact the guy, or I need I'm interested in donkey because you hear the lot of donkeys in Botswana. So this guy didn't see this thing as an opportunity. To him, it was now breaking story.
Yeah,
Can I wrote that
news.
thing?
Yeah.
My story so attract the people as far as Asia. And he wrote the story again to say there is a demand for donkey meat in China. And a business guy in Botswana an opportunity. Then he called the guy. Can I have the number of that guy? He gave him the number.
And that was it.
Until some of the government officials, Babajara, so where they export their yanama twinki. So you see what you are exposed because you look at the industry you are working when a lot of sabotage, yet who push you for you are pursuing the truth.
But I don't think you've really answered the question of how does it make good business sense. Ke ra gore, yes, I get maybe people won't be honest with you gore ne ke sa itse
Okay,
or whatever, but how does that make good business sense? Because in my thinking,
that
and
is
I mean, I want to take radio because that's the background I come from. You'll have people all over when you meet them tell you, ah, na ke sa tlhola ke reetsa radio, right? And I want to imagine part of it is just that thing of the talent, the quality that we should be getting, it's not really being retained if Kathy is one of the oldest people
uh-huh.
there. So how is that a good business case? That's one. And then two, you mentioned Kanyadi excursion, these flashy excursions. I want to tie that into freebies, right? We talked about this earlier to say, what is your take on freebies mo Botswana as far as journalists are concerned?
First one, or how does it make business sense? That is why now mainstream media, radio, print, balela gore there is collapsing because the quality has gone down.
So it's not making sense, basically.
It doesn't make sense. So I don't know whether they are realizing that, but every week, every month, we hear what come this publication by retrench, and we want to also level the thickness that pampers are on. Oh, what's a hit? Because the quality of news has gone down. Because people are no longer interested more rates in radio, more balance pampir. And then you have the head of state are 90% of what is ready. So this is a new president. So whatever he says, but by rates.
Yeah.
So it doesn't. That's why we are initially those the first ones but take into consideration, but we had these people well. The quality could have still at where it is. You look at other publications, news outlets outside, they are doing very well.
Yeah.
Because they're paying journalists very well. Okay, issue of freebies. I've when we had the International Federation of Journalists, one of the things that came up was issue of freebies, or it should not be allowed because it compromises the
The
quality,
ethics, yeah.
the ethics, because
Yep.
so when you look at other, I've worked with guys by BBC. I think we're doing something the wedding ya Prince Harry. So government offered go transport or transport go ko metsi a manong go ne go iragala even to facilitate gore team ya teng ya go shoota teng ko ne this guy proposed that thing, but these guys they said no, we can't take the offer, thanks but no thanks, because they were saying that the moment we take this thing is compromising our work. We have budget for this thing, we are going to do it. So freebies they compromise. Another thing, the corporate are very clever. If I go to an okay female yani, so they give you t-shirt there, yeah, whatever that company, people listen to you, they see you the way you appear, way appear because you've got limited wardrobe. At the same time, you are pushing their brand for
I'm
free.
being the brand ambassador for free.
You are the brand ambassador for free. We are not saying, okay, we're looking at where we are from, but Botswana is no longer a very poor country. Because this publication, we are going back to this publication because they didn't invest on their workers, they didn't invest on the reporters. Now they depend on, it's not the journalists who go for the freebies, it's your employer who tells you go and cover this thing, you take this thing. In some instances, I think the voice you are the freebie ne di sa go office no sa tela bota ba pere go mo no sa letelwe wa o isa wa henda go mo ha rona mo ka go hiwa. So I think as time goes on a go change le bone ba repisa di pante.
Okay, I want to talk a little bit about the union, right? You were part of this union for how many years? You then at some point got to the rank of president. What was your mandate? What are some of the achievements that you got? Would you say you failed as a president of a union that takes care of the media, and you're sitting here telling me, this industry is really, it's regressing, really, if we can look at it?
No, in actual fact, I am the founding president of Bomao.
Okay.
I started the union in Keswa, Francetown, where I was a freelance reporter. Because I was looking at our welfare. There were guys that I was looking up to, I used to read about. But so to me, I have that. I think some imagination. I'm living well. So
Yeah.
I saw those guys.
They didn't live up to your mental expectations.
Yes. Then I said, because background there, a temporary teacher from Bosetu, Professor de Bosetu. So I said, guys, we need to have a union. We need to have to look at our welfare. So we found out there was once Bomeu in Yaswa, and then we started Bomau, Botswana Media and Allied Workers Unions. That is every worker. So we went all the media houses to recruit people. Some joined, but then now this thing was a threat to the employer.
Yeah.
This thing to threaten those or if you join this thing, this is what happened.
Yeah.
So we had, I think, two members barona. They were unfairly dismissed. The Jimson Gimorailwe, Poshia Nkani, Guardian, because of the state of union. We took this issue to the labor court. We won the case. I think during our time we have won a lot of cases for journalists. We have the one against ECHO, we won. We have the one Yabo against Gaps FM. We facilitated that, we won. We have one Yadi freelancer at Bopa. They've won the case. Elon not facilitate and the what do you call the lawyer legal representation. But then we found ourselves in a situation where the journalists were like a man in a cave, or they're still like that. So they believe their shadows, they believe their imaginations, they believe that what I see, the shadows that they see, is the reality. So now, as a man that was also in the shadow just like them, but then I managed to get out of the cave and I say that no, but there is an original light. The one that we've been seeing is a fake light. What is that fake? These flashy trips, freebies, interacting with whoever. I can call the president, I can call the minister.
Having access.
But that is fake, because the reality out there, we are living in an illusion. So the few of us who came back to tell you guys, even including you, or guys, hey la, Haromo is just illusion. Let's come out and face this thing. But most of them, they refuse. Some of them, they only realize the light normally, or mostly more of them realize that they were living an illusion when they were retrenched, when they were fired from work. And the reality came during COVID-19, when you have to work from home. That was the time when most of the freelancers were cut off. The publication. Okay, fine. For Bomau, I think initially we did well. We managed to register with becoming member affiliates of International Federation of Journalists, and then also the African Federation of Journalists, where then I was part of the executive committee. We formed Southern African Journalists Association, where I'm the founder and is starting now. Yes, to some certain extent, maybe we failed to put more pressure, but also the members also failed. It is not only me who failed, but all of us failed. Because I'll give you an example that I gave people of a pastor. He had a congregation. All of a sudden, no snap what kereke. But no, can't leave let me, yes. So this guy, what he did is he brought a coffin. Come, guys, let's come and bid the church farewell. So everyone came. When they looked into the coffin, they see their faces. And then say, no, the church is still there. The building is here. Who is dead? It's us. Who has failed the union? Me and you.
You know what? I want to bring this to a little bit to highlight it, to say, yes, and I want to imagine this is something across the board, across sectors. If there is a threat to your job, your sustainability, and your security, right? Much as you say, okay, we won these cases, at the end of the day, those people will have lost their jobs. What's next for them, especially in these unemployment statistics that we have going on in Botswana, right? Because at the end of the day, if you're going to get discriminated against, or there's a stigma, if I can call it that, for joining a union bashing, I think it's called, then what measures, did you put into place to stop that? Because at the end of the day, if you know that joining this is going to jeopardize my career, how do I pay rent after that?
Hey, I think how knows na patience am ka bo dirla ka mo ne re bua ka no that two motho kampa. So after winning those cases re metse batho ba, so our hope are retire ba tswa kwa now because ba bonye light they will join the union. I'll give you an example what happened. There was a case in what I was not following it that much. I think Echo YMH. One day I met one of the guys bane ba kubilo mo Mutiro. I think he was driving a BMW 1 Series. Comrade, that's a nice car. Hey, why don't you rekile guy my dear? No, ka case any you know. He didn't even say thank you, he didn't say anything. He has moved on. Like because he's used to small money. Yeah, and you have about 60,000. And then he thought now he owns the world. Now he finally Bill Gates and me. And that's why I get people you help someone or no, at least when you like you comment once how soon he's gone. He will come back again when he has another problem. That's why I get what we did when we started home. I think union is a problem during COVID-19. We have started because we realized that the older ones are difficult to convince. We had students, members from University of Botswana and Limco. But we wanted to get them young, but then we were hit by COVID, and those guys, no, some of them, the delusion, they've ventured into other things. So COVID really, it hit hard on us. So the young ones, you don't even know some of them are, but some I think Bajwene mass media, most of them.
I mean, and we are very aware that the private sector of media is a very different ball game to the state, right? That one is very clear, especially when you look at things like security and stability. The honest truth is there is more of that in state media than in private media. This is Moving Humanity Forward podcast. Find us by typing Moving Humanity Forward podcast on LinkedIn as well as YouTube and TikTok. Otherwise, MHF podcast on Facebook. Stay with us.
Life comes with surprises. Some good, some not so much.
But whatever happens, you can face it head on.
Assure Wealth gives you more than just insurance. We give you protection for every part of your life, your home, your car, even your travel.
We help businesses stay resilient with commercial covers from theft, fire, public liability, and group covers.
Got a team? We've got you covered too. Life cover, disability, funeral schemes, even income continuation.
Our type of funeral plan is just one way to ensure dignity and peace of mind.
Need cover for travel?
Done.
Aviation, agriculture, even political riots.
We've got you.
Professional indemnity?
Of course.
At Assure Wealth, we are not just brokers, we are your insurance partners for life.
Insurance that protects what matters. Insurance done right.
Welcome back. This is Moving Humanity Forward. We're talking the state of the media industry in Botswana and just so many questions around this. I think one of them is obviously going to be what is the solution? I don't like to just talk problems, Philemon, but I want us to get you to weigh in on, we've touched extensively on what some of the issues are. And so I want to know how you fix it. But before we get to that, and one of the things that you brought up, because you keep saying, you know, older journalists, they weren't changing their minds, and so we figured let's go to the younger ones. And I want to put this in front of you to say, put yourself in this person's shoes, okay? They've got children, they're married, they've got a wife, they've got responsibilities, bills, rent. Unfortunately, out of town because you can't afford to live in town. This gray import that you're driving, it needs to be serviced and maybe refurbished or whatever the case may be, right? That is the situation you're in, and you know that joining a union, I'll probably lose my job. I don't know if I can afford to do that right now. This is maybe what I studied, what I know, what I've been doing for the past 10, 15 years. And then Philemon, you go write the story, and it's an amazingly explosive story, potentially life changing. You know how Botswana always saying there are no journalists in Botswana. Then you go come with a story that will let people know there's a journalist, and then as you're getting response from the company, they say, "Hasuro just as sengwenyana." What do you do in that case? And by the way, the kid is sick. O tlhoka ga ona medical aid, ngwana o tlhoka surgery or braces or whatever the case may be. What do you do?
Yes, Kana, you have to look at the principle. What is the principle? Why do you wanted to be a journalist? It's the pursuit of the truth. That is the critical thing. That
But
is
it's
what
not
is
paying
important.
you, and you're broke.
Yes, you
And
are
you
broke,
have rent.
but again, because you are in pursuit of the truth, you need to pursue the truth. You need to get out the truth. That is what is important. So once you compromise that, that is the end of journalism,
Yeah.
and that is what most of us have actually done. When we have compromised that thing,
Yeah.
because as a journalist, okay, ngwana wa lwala, you should have medical aid, you should have all those things. That is the company should provide.
Yes, but it doesn't.
If it doesn't, then that's the problem. So so talk is to pursue the truth and take the truth out. But like you are saying, what else is not only from the side of journalists, people that don't know, okay, I'm already outside the industry.
Yes.
You can go and write a story about a certain company, and your boss, and then in that page, this story is supposed to be on page 3, which is a prime page.
Yeah.
There is an advert, full page.
Yeah, company at thing.
Yes, and then the employer or no, this is the company you do on salary.
Yeah.
That is what he said. That is why, how can most of our stories in our publications, they are about corruption, government. You never see a story most about the private entity. How didn't?
Yeah.
How today? I can bet with you. How can I follow up a time more than 3 times? But then the only thing that you see is about government.
Yeah.
So that's the problem that we are facing.
Yeah.
So that is my worry. But then what is important is when as a journalist, you might push your own story. But then this guy tells you, these guys are paying us. They are the ones, this advert is 60,000 pool. And when I story was up, publicly, 7 pool, 8 pool. So I think that is what is happening now.
I want to actually just get you to weigh in a little bit on another thing that is happening more and more now, where you have, especially with the popularization of social media, and I want to believe again with COVID, that's where a lot of the playing field was changed up, really, because you have a lot of people who don't really go into mainstream media, or if they are into mainstream media, they get off it and they get onto social media, and they're doing pretty well for themselves just off of social media. Do you think that it would actually is something that a path that a journalist can take to say, never mind the traditional mainstream media, just get onto social media and push yourself that way? What are your thoughts?
That is citizen journalism. Because of the invent of social media, digital media, most of guys are taking that path. Some of them, like I said, are doing very well. They are writing incredible stories. I think I've seen Ronaldo Agassi, mail online. So Boneda, you can see what Boneda just writing what is says during the mainstream media.
Yeah.
And then you have guys by worry in those thing, because some of them you don't see their face, some of them you see their faces. And then we have guys, I usually call them the hired guns. Guys who are just used, maybe they're paid.
They push propaganda.
They can even push to tarnish someone's name. If it's that person, you are my right, you business, we are competing. They can just go out and tarnish your business. They don't care whether you sue them or whatever you do. But then they will push and people will believe them. or no, whatever they're saying in it, because they've already been a base.
It's a numbers game.
Yes, it's a numbers game. In most social media, it's
The statistics, the
it's a
numbers.
I remember one day there was one guy who he once at the company because a public company, the Botswana. He wrote something to say the corruption I could have Botswana. And then what we said, because I sometimes do PR consultants. No, this guy is pushing the numbers. It's social media.
Yeah.
But who are the real clientele at Botswana? Guys who are buying diamonds and all the likes. Do they care? So it's quite a little more Facebook.
Social media.
They don't. Sometimes they don't even read. So it depends. So it's a game of numbers. We know a lot of hired guns. But dira madi ba tsela. I mean, if that's how they want to make money, as one about to want after all, more life. Social media, but we had those kind of people even before.
Okay, I want to talk about what you think the best way forward is, right? And I love how you come from the union perspective. I'm going to want to talk a little bit about unions as well, because you said to me earlier, you're talking ideal things, and that's just not what happens on the ground. But for now, let's talk solutions, right? We've spoken a lot about the issues, what's going on, what's on the ground, what the challenges. The state, let's agree, of the media industry, let's talk specifically to Botswana, is quite deplorable. The quality is for the most part going down. That's what we seem to reach a consensus. How do we fix it?
Solution. The media needs to introspect. One of the ways, are you aware of the minister and the president Sunansa Commission?
No. Oh, yes, where they were speaking to people
yes,
within
I've
the
appeared
industry.
before the commission.
Yes.
Now, it's the same old faces that you see there. If you go to some of this organization, MISA, when they call these trainings, when they have these things, the same, we talk about consultant, we are seeing all the old faces.
Yeah.
Why can't you bring the young ones into these things? You know what? I appeared before that commission. 90% of those guys, they're not practicing. In fact, there's only one practicing journalist from Bob.
Yeah.
The rest, some of the things that I was saying, they didn't even know what I was talking about.
Yeah.
To them, we are here. So you need these young people, the journalists need to own this industry. They need to sit down and look at solutions.
But how do they do that? They don't own the industry. They're broke. They're
now
underpaid.
They own the industry.
How?
They have the online publications which have more impact than
You're talking about.
Let me tell you what is happening. From outside.
Okay.
We have these young publications, Tuesday Greeley, Agassi, those are online.
Yes.
Now, the mainstream media guys, how won't you have the statement, this saying whatever the president said is not true, he's listening or he's following some of these online publications masquerading as publications. Why when about masquerading? I've seen that statement repeatedly. Masquerading. Some of these guys, they write even credible news than even the mainstream media. So what they need to do now is to sit down. I think the former organization, maybe the Botswana Online Media Association. If they can push that, and then they ensure that they take control of the industry. Remember, I once helped them when they were taking over from Misa, so
I remember.
And the guys who took over now, they went back to the same people.
But let me ask you this, because it's almost as if you want to ignore this fact. The fact is, when you're broke, the amount of power you have is very limited. And unfortunately, we've agreed that a lot of players, and when I say players, I mean the employees, not necessarily management, exco, and so on, owners, ABC. I guess that's where the power is. So we're talking about the workers, the employees in this space, the people who are meant to represent the fourth estate. How do what is the way forward for them? Because you've just said this. If you are in this industry, you step in what you think is the right thing, you're going to lose your job.
They need to rise up. If you remember, we once had a demonstration against Gapsafe.
Okay, I remember that.
We were broke.
Yes.
When they fired
Reginald Richardson, yes.
As that's the only one thing that we did.
Yes.
We once mobilized all journalists to boycott the BDP National Congress in Eloko Maharaj,
Yes.
and it was success.
Yes.
We once mobilized for them to mobilize. There was another festival.
But do you think that those were
but that's why I'm
successes?
saying that if they use that, the problem is that is not a problem. Up until I believe one of them will rise.
Yeah.
And will take them up. I've not listened. I've not lost hope on them. So the issue of Porba Brook or what is here nor there. Like
But
I
let
was
me
saying,
ask
we
you
managed to fight these guys while we were broke.
But let's talk about that, right? So you managed to boycott the Congress or a station, whatever the case may be. So that worked for maybe 3-6 months period of time. Then what happened after that? Did KK and Reginald Richardson get their jobs back?
They
No,
won the
they
case.
didn't. Yes, but did they get that? And that's what I'm saying. Then what?
But Kathy,
you win the
remember
case,
already,
and then what?
but
Like, what
then
is life for you after that?
the relationship.
Are you inspiring anybody else to want to follow that path, to say, you know what, this person got justice and then their life got better, and so if this happens to me tomorrow, let me also follow? Because if you're going to win the case, yes, it's great, you get that payout, and then what?
And then what you need to find, because one more thing, relationship has broken irreparably.
Yeah.
You can't go back to
Exactly.
those guys.
And then
so
what?
But you see, KK Abadira Agas online.
Yes.
It depends on you or your more. And then he pushed, I don't know what Regine Kamana TV.
Yes.
I cannot TV because I stay the kettle post, so I don't have a TV. So I once saw him on TV.
Yes.
So,
but this is after many years of having.
After many years.
Yeah. And so it was. I'm sure life wasn't nice for him in that point in time. So yes, Kana, this is what I'm saying. You need to do something that inspires people to want to follow that route. Because if you're saying get just easy and so go sit home and you're broken,
what you're saying, we're not saying go home. How's now winner? Where are you winning? Help to enlighten your singers anymore.
Okay.
That's why some of them, after getting that money, they disappear.
Yeah.
You see, so we need them to come and then inspire the ones who are, no, I have fought against this company and I have won, but I'm still in this industry. I might be in a different way. Some of them are still in this industry, but they do online. Some of them, we have a lot of guys behind, but there are some initiatives. But then you need to, that's what I'm saying, that you need to inspire, you need to go out there, tell the young generation, tell the ones who at university, you need to stand up for your rights. That's what we're telling. When we started this thing, we had a training for young reporters. But in fact, the UBD, the Limco. Or guys, you are joining industry and you are going to find people they have got the battered wife mentality. They believe the abuse that they are getting is the right. So Lona, go there and tell these guys, I'm not going to allow this thing to happen to me. There was one girl, I'll try to remember her name.
Let me pause you there. That is a very big problem right now in the industry. There is oversupply and less demand, right? How many, and we're talking again specifically to private media, right? How many students graduate every year, and yet how many outlets are there that can take them in, right? It's happened to me on different occasions where you'll say, no, this is way too little, and somebody will got it to your face, tell you, do you know how many people are hungry and looking for this? Exactly like you're saying, right? So it's not so much that, the battered wife, they beat. It's if you have rent to pay, this is either going to help you pay rent or you're going to be on the streets. Okay. That's the unfortunate reality of it. And so you're saying to people, stand up. One thing that you are also very aware of, a lot of the time when these owners, management, and I'm separating that from the employees, when they make decisions, when I, as the employee, you have no say in it, right? So I want to throw myself in there and say, I came in at that point at Gabs FM just as Reginald was being fired, okay? In fact, I used to do the breakfast show, and there was a listener who diligently used to send me hate SMSs every morning. That's fine. I have no choice over what's going on. I'm just stepping in here and the explosion. Those people don't really have a say on what is going on. And that's what I'm asking you, Hor. What can they do as people in this industry? If I'm interested and passionate about journalism, what can I do to make sure journalism lives in Botswana? Because as it's going, it's not really going there.
Okay, I'm going to give you an example. What if you are passionate about journalism? I'm going to be living an example. We have 3 guys fired from Gaps FM, 2 from Gazette newspaper. They sat down, guys. We have got the skill. We can start something. They started Agas Online. We have guys. They were at one paper. We can post. What can we do? Let's start something. Now we can find an investor. We start Project Magazine. We have guys. Tuesday grill. every Tuesday, if you go to WhatsApp, whether you like it or hate it, everyone will say Ekai Tuesday grill. So now group yourselves. If you look at Pampiri Sunday Standard before then, Sunday Standard was started by journalists. And after this thing, the shrinking president and all that. You go to Weekend Post. Weekend Post was started by journalists. In between Yahoo Hakit. You have Business Weekly and Review. Those are journalists who started those things. So now you see what we still have an opportunity. Now you are a young generation. So this one's because we have got new technology. Now we have got moving humanity forward. Wow. You were in, I don't know if you're still more radio one. On the radio, well, the producer was one of the radios, prominent radio stations.
In fact, all the radio stations.
Yes, all the radio stations. But you see, so that is one of the solutions that we can actually do. One of the things is in Qatar. I love very much Tuesday Grill. People who are against it, who hate it, are guys who are in the mainstream industry, because it's a threat to them. Because how the say Tuesday is a Kuala, and then how the is it permitted to Kuala. Home Matakabati sense in serum industry. I want to specifically different. So I think that is one of the solutions. Some guys have done nobody PR consultant.
Yeah. So basically, but then that's still killing the industry, because then you're saying get off the media and go get a job in a private institution. And that's what a lot of people have done.
You are not actually killing. You are progressing career-wise.
Yeah,
but then what is that?
No. I disagree with you, because that supply that you're getting is often untrained, inexperienced. So now, if you're saying to me, when you get trained and experienced, don't fight, or there's nothing you can do to better the industry, just get a job and get out of the industry.
A publication. You want political reporters. So now I used to be a political reporter. Then I have one experience. You can bring me, come and train these kids. So you see, no problem.
But do you see that happening in Botswana? Really?
You get a problem. Problem we don't support each other. We don't do what is happening? What I see happen is like there is a recycle. If I go to training, and I've stopped training. They will bring a guy on 10 years ago on a trainer, what is a media consultant. And it's the same guy who's coming up again. And sometimes what is piece of it that is the same guy, or he was an harassed editor before. So that's why we need new guys who understand the current the setup within the corporate world, within politics. So allow them to train. Stop now bringing us the old people at again. Farming. Now we end up in farming.
You know what? I want to talk a little bit about you in farming, and oh my goodness, time is not on my side. Okay, so you're now in farming, but I wanted to actually find out, because you're talking about, standing up, doing what you have to do. But it's interesting. You just talked about how you put together a whole campaign to basically boycott the BDP Congress, right? Fast forward a couple of years, you're the same person. Okay, I think at that point you had retired from active
No, resigned, not retired.
Sorry.
I'm still here.
Forgive me, resigned, right? But you were there pushing a political party, right?
Hey.
So, I mean, how does that work? Are you not bored?
No,
Do you want
I'm
to
not bored.
confess something
I
to
was
us?
not writing. I'm
Confess.
now, like I'm saying,
Confess.
I'm a PR
Go tle yang
consultant.
gore o resign, confess. Tell us.
How did I resign?
Yes.
My story
Even
is
you
very
were wearing a
okay.
T-shirt or pusha a political
Yes, and I can do
opponent
it
or
again.
candidate. So
Let me
ga se
tell you how I
gore o
resigned.
rekilwe ebile o tsene ya mo farming o tsa kae madi. Farming is expensive. Ebile ke eng sa apara di outfit tsa di farmer.
How did I resign? COVID. When was COVID? 2020.
2020.
2020.
Yep.
Not 2021, 2022.
2020 is when it started.
Then 2021, I guess. I was hit by COVID. I think I was down for about 3 weeks. Thought I was between life and death. If to tell the truth, I was 70% on the pearly gates than on this earthly world. And then on the fourth week, I think third week, I was much better. So I was writing stories, but I was at home. I would just send the stories. Then fourth week, I went to work. Nearly month end. I got a message, ke create loga 415 pool or something on a level 5 tebeka to I think so. So I thought he's one of the guys, these other time because never it's gore ke a lwala madinyana gore ke reke di fruits. Yes. Then I asked the guy who finance or morana kan dira mogala le. He told me gore madi a watsi, madi a mo ke make na ke a moge.
Oh.
Aber no madi a watsi. In fact, your boss told us gore you have been absent from work for 3 weeks. And by then hakilwala they used to bring fruits kwa game. You know, I asked myself a question. If these guys can do this to me when I'm on a deathbed, what if get fit? And then I went to my gadget, my laptop.
Gosh.
Then I typed the resignation letter with immediate effect. I didn't discuss with anyone. I didn't consult anyone. I just resigned immediately.
So how did you pay rent that month?
No, I had some consultants that I was doing, some jobs that I had been doing. So those are the ones that pushed me. I didn't push anything. So like I was saying, so I used to go there. So I was doing some consultancy for some people. So that's how I've been surviving, being engaged. Even sometimes because I used to be a political reporter. Even political parties, not only if they want strategy, campaigning strategy, media strategy, I'll do it for them. For anyone, I'll do that. So that's how I left the media industry.
I want to tie that in with political alignment.
Political alignment, because
especially wearing the hat, the president of a union.
By then the union was also on a deathbed. So well, then because I'm also a political being, I'm a human being. So then, okay, we had the hit moment of the campaign, you know, someone wants your help to help her. And remember that I'm no longer a practicing journalist. I'm just there. So I help this person. Then I decide I put on Peggy Sarame's t-shirt. I'll help her for her campaign. We've been just good friends. So there's nothing personal, nothing there. And a lot of people
are you sure
angry.
There's no tie between you boycotting the BDP Congress?
The BDP Congress,
and then
I
fast
boycotted
forward
it.
to you how many
that
years
was-
later now wearing a candidate BDP's
BDP
t-shirt.
Congress
Are you
was-
sure? Is there something you want to confess to
no.
us right now, Philemon?
That's what happened.
Ebile Moraka, how did you start that Moraka? Where was the capital funding that you...
poverty mentality. The BDP
No,
thing was
no. Let's not do that. You're distracting and you're not answering the question.
2018.
Is there no tie?
2018. I don't know what the BDP. There was something that the BDP in a Khalaba that was 2018. That was 28. I think
2018.
28. That was before Masisi. I remember.
Yes, his inauguration was April 2018.
That if it's 20 or 208 something, because Ntuan was the Secretary General. They don't care whether some of the journalists will come to the Congress. So we released a statement that a journalist, we are going to boycott that national congress. But no journalist is going to boycott the national congress. And then what they did, the editors. So guys were sent home. And then what they did, because Nerunale strategy. Remember, I did my schooling, most of my institution in South Africa. So I know these things are struggle. I know Botswana. So guys attended, but they never wrote the story. So the first paper to give them
Mileage.
a hint or something's not going, something is not right here. Nearly make monitor. Because that was the first paper that was supposed to report about the
Congress.
The Congress. In actual fact, it was supposed, Sunday Standard didn't do anything.
Yes, the weekend.
Monday, Bobaroke, Sunday Standard, printing. So Monday, now there was nothing on.
What about the Weekend Post? Did they have something?
Weekend Post is like a Saturday again. So
but did they have something on the Congress?
No.
Okay.
So then, I think the only radio station that did that thing was Yarona FM. But I'll say those things. So they panicked, or no, then we need to meet. So what they call the editors forum, because then we said, no, you can't say these guys, we talk to us. You failed to address this grievances study. That was us. That was us now,
putting your demands forward.
Yes, or the way you treat them. Then there was another festival where they were saying journalists,
yeah.
We released a statement again, or we are not attending that show. Since then, we boycotted the show. Since then, up to now, the show is I see nothing. So not that we are happy or the show has told.
Yeah, but I get the principles.
Yeah, the principle that was there. We also, again, during issues about Gaps FM, we once told people to boycott Gaps FM, the morning show, after issues on Sabo if you remember.
So basically, you were taking listeners away from me at that time.
Yes. No, the business. Hey, you have
casualties of
yes,
war.
and only the collateral. So that's why COVID killed us. There was that militancy within them. Then we have guys, you know that you are really fighting when you see some of your guys more clear, like I was talking about Jimson, Tumoreo, and Posha Ankani, and then by then we are members of Buffet Puso again. So before Puso, the control, it's very influencing.
Yeah.
So that thing was working. So that's why I feel if I could have done sincerely and failed wherever I failed. So there is someone somewhere who's going to rise.
But let me ask you this, and I mean, it's interesting you're saying you failed, but I wonder because you talk about looking at strategy, right? And one of the strategies that we've seen is that if you are a journalist and you are in a way hard hitting, can I say if you're a bit of a thorn in the side of whichever narrative is being pushed, a lot of the time you get hired, you get recruited, and then therefore you are effectively silenced. You understand what I'm saying? So have that not happened to you?
I'm not silenced. I still give my opinion, whatever I want to do. I'm not silenced. That's me.
Yeah.
You can try to silence me, but it's going to be very difficult to silence me.
So you're going to speak your truth.
I'm like a fly.
So you
can't domesticate.
So you wouldn't take the 200,000 400 bribe you account or kill the story.
It's never happened, but if it can happen, I know it will depend on the situation.
Yeah.
I will take that thing.
Yeah.
Looking at
yeah.
The one thing I once wrote a story about a company before we got the BITC, actually that time. Nesi changes in me to write video BITC.
Yeah.
I was in Francistown. There was a case against one of the prominent BGB guys. Now you tender what again the BITC mon go show ground fair what.
Oh yeah, Global Expo.
Global Expo. It's a little boy MC mo
Yes.
No na le hware na no kile some guys ba maburu so ne ba seka le BITC le I did a story. I got the court papers. They did a story. So the guy who was the CEO, but I think I know what they say, Joe or something. He called me. I rock up and go see him. Francis Tao. So I wouldn't be able to attend the kopana le wena. Re ka
Yes,
bua
the
mo
meeting.
gale.
Yeah.
But can you give me the number of your boss? So ke mo nang number ya boss wa me. Ko ne ke kwala teng nako e. Then I received a call from my editor by then. Or mon. Ape mona lo fe menyane e kwalang ka yone ene go lo fe matne video go te ba o like ya 20s. Or ape na re is not known for doing any other thing. But then I was so ne ke sa le mo ka bontsi. And then ke gakolwa ntse re bua ya. And it came to me later gore go rala gore when we are supposed to meet
That guy.
It
was going to
ne gore ke na la card so a re mogolwane o jele card. And then there was a story I wrote about. There was this American guy on Atiswabiki BITC. American rapper
Jaru. Yes, it was Kim Kardashian and Jaru. And I remember
yes,
that
I was
Emma
writing
Warriors was the second princess around that time.
I was working for Mudixa. Then I did story sa gore Jaru le promote them and I was on. So I did my own research ka Jaru le I mean
he had a criminal record at the time.
A criminal record. Then had to promote our diamonds and all the likes. So the guy wa Mudixa, because Mudixa and Guardian are
sister.
Yes, yeah. We hit the story. Hey, wow, so Samudu.
Yes,
Sajaru.
I recall.
It's Samudu Mosaru. Happy and how we are Mutoko story. Agree on Alamahaboroni. The guy is not even in Haboroni, he's in Francistown. So, I think by then it's also save like a Roman or Tidikarab or Ramadu.
Yes.
Then he has to call me back and cool off or no, comrade Oscar or no, how do you music and the tala home and all that. So those kind of things. So so they build you, they le same, you see. And also one of the things is when one of us passes on.
Yeah, they
can't bury themselves.
We don't hold hands, yeah.
No, you don't know. We tell what analyze.
Yeah, because it's a profession that has no money.
The prophet is this cruelty again. Sometimes I had a kid who was sick. He was supposed to go for operation.
Yeah.
Kuji page.
Yeah.
Scheduled operation. Ha tsuntsora tsene go duelwe. Ebe go te karata ya medical ibomedi. Expired. So ke a botsa gore how expire ya. Medical ibomedi in Spencer file gore no, you have got about a year o sa duele subscription. Yet mo my payslip is super every month ke a bua. So go tro mare no ne re lebetse. But you tell me gore ba lebetse. I have a case of another guy who he lost una ke thala ke mmagwe. Ha tsontso ra re wa go tsa madi gore a duele a thuse go lapeng for go reka go thusa ka rena cover le mmagwe. A gona insurance mare policy ya go sa re collapse. But last month tela wa go supala gore every month go tswa madi mo go ene ke mohiri. So you see those are the kind of things that ha go ra ke re re tshabara di bua this is the reality. I mean war industry one. That's why I get you guys can and redeem it and then collapse those things. Let them collapse because they are already dead. Start once, new ones, di khobokanye. Hela ka le bonna ba simolla tsa bone tse dingwe tsa collapse them because after all they have already collapsed. Spiritually they are collapsed. I mean, how do you take someone's money, medical aid? How do you take someone's money, all funeral insurance? They are already spiritually that not only spiritually they are dead, and even psychologically they are working physically bad. So you they let them collapse.
This is moving humanity forward, unfortunately, out of time, but I think there's so much more that could be said, and I still have so many questions about it, but it's been a really, really great one. If you're watching us, please go ahead and subscribe. We'd love for you to keep watching us every single Friday. My name is Kathy Malajani. We'll catch you next week.